Hey everyone, Namaste. This is the star weather forecast for the solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024, together with the Mars-Saturn conjunction on April 10th, 2024. And let's get right to it. And so this is the solar eclipse chart for the West, for those of us in the West Coast time zones. So California, Oregon, Washington, West Nevada, West Idaho, West Canada, Baja California. So the solar eclipse happens in the 10th house in our collective chart with the ascendant in Cancer, which is also our collective ascendant of the year. With the Lunar New Year chart, it is the same ascendant as that chart. With the chart ascendant ruler, Moon, so right there, the ascendant Cancer ruled by Moon, together with the second house ruler, Sun. Sun is ruled by the Sun right there, conjuncting as the chart event, Sun and Moon conjunct together is the new moon, and together with North Node, one of the nodes, that is an eclipse event. So it's a solar eclipse event. With the first and second house involved, we can expect personal identity and financial vulnerabilities around the eclipse. So the eclipse further conjuncts, you can see right here, an exact conjunct. It's down to the minutes that they are conjuncting during the height of the eclipse. As the eclipse is conjuncting Chiron in Aries, it indicates that they're old, outdated motivations that will be released from us. And the eclipse answers to Mars because the eclipse is happening in Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is right there, extremely close to Saturn, and it's going to conjunct Saturn. So they're going to conjunct just 2 days later on April 11th, 2024. And so we need to look into this conjunction because it describes what we would experience from the eclipse. So the eclipse event happening in the 10th house in our collective chart is going to be described by Mars, and Mars is only 1 degree away from Saturn and will go into conjunction with Saturn on April 11th. So we also have to look to the Saturn and Mars conjunction chart in order to describe the eclipse. So for the Mars and Saturn conjunction, it is traditionally a difficult conjunction. So there's going to be an added intensity to the eclipse as our motivations toward people, places, circumstances are being released in the cycle. So Mars-Saturn conjuncting in the 8th house in the Mars-Saturn conjunction chart. This is the Mars-Saturn conjunction chart cast from the Pacific West Coast. So they are in the 8th house. And this can point to the experience of a crisis point that can explode into aggression when expressed externally, or implode into anxiety and depression when expressed internally. So with Mars and Saturn, there's always that buildup of anxiety inside. It's sort of our motivations, what we experience as motivations are sort of being questioned by Saturn, as in the Saturn is questioning, is this the right motivation? Hold on, before you move forward, I need to hold you back and see if this is right for you at this time. And so there's that anxiety buildup in terms of, oh my God, I don't know why I'm being pulled back. And because I don't know why, I don't know what's going on, I just know that I'm being pulled back somehow. There's going to be stress being built up inside. And of course, if there's a buildup, it might very well explode externally. And if we're not prone to external acts of aggression, then it may implode internally. And for some people, that can start to look like depression or depressed moods. So the story arc can look like this. The eclipse removes our passion and drive for appearing as a certain role in society, because we're talking about the eclipse, back to the eclipse event, we're talking about the eclipse being in the 10th house for us collectively. So there's something about, the 10th house is our reputation, how we like to be seen and how we see ourselves, how we like others to see us, how we would like others to know us, either as I like people to see me as a professional, or I like people to see me as a mom. What is their dominant role in society? So there are going to be shifts around that. Let me just get back to, so there are going to be shifts or the motivations for these certain roles in society, or a certain reputation we like to be known for amongst our social circles, is going to, the motivation, our passion for those roles are going to shift. And then we hit a crisis existential point. So I want to get to the good news. The good news is that because the eclipse conjuncts Chiron, it's actually good news. Chiron is a wounded healer. Typically, something hits Chiron, there's potential of being re-traumatized, being reminded of past woundings. And in this case, we like it. It's good because it's an eclipse. We're eclipsing that out. And also the Aries cluster looks to Mars, Jupiter, and eventually Venus. Just want to show you real quick. So we're talking about the eclipse cluster, all of this cluster being in Aries, ruled by Mars. Mars and Jupiter is going to be, not Jupiter, Mars and Pisces is going to be ruled by Neptune and Jupiter in Taurus is going to be ruled by Venus, and Venus in Aries goes back to Mars. So Venus is sort of bookending this and allowing us to know that this is a good thing. We're going to end up with better motivations. But basically what this means is that we're essentially letting go of motivations that carry the signatures of survival defensive mechanisms that we adopted as a response to past traumas or wounds. It's actually simpler than we think. It's a quick example is like, oh, my parents wanted me to be, let's say, a teacher. And I've been sort of beaten into, or somehow traumatized, or there's somehow some sort of wounding, that because I want to please my parents so much, I convince myself that I'm motivated towards becoming a teacher. But now with this eclipse, I'm going to rethink this a little bit, just a little bit. So something along those lines, or not just a little bit, but I'm going to be rethinking if those motivations are pure. And what I'm suggesting with this is that you're going to be made to think, as in if you had motivations and drive to, I'm just going to use this example, to become a teacher, to be a teacher, blah, 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 whatever your example is. during this eclipse time, if you are not aware of this energy, you may be pushed into reviewing this motivation. So what I'm suggesting is that now that you're aware of the energies, take the initiative to review it with Saturn. Say, thank you, Saturn, for sort of dialing down my motivation so I get to really review it objectively to see if this is what actually aligns with me. Right? So after the release, if this doesn't align, right? If there's something going on where, wait a minute, I'm only wanting to be this, or that I only want to climb the corporate ladder because, you know, my parents told me that, or that there's some sort of societal brainwashing that this is what I'm just supposed to do, but is it really me? So we're eclipsing that sort of wounding. It may not be an apparent wounding, it could just be subliminal messages. But we're taking this opportunity to remove the impure motivations that are holding us back so that we can actually move forward with the intentions that truly align with our spirit. So the release is really about shedding misguided intentions and motivations that will no longer serve us at our next stage of growth and expansion. And I'm talking about, of course, what everyone's talking about, Jupiter-Uranus conjunction on April 20th, where we're going to experience a boom, a growth, and expansion wherever your Jupiter-Uranus hits in your chart. And we'll start to see the positive material results of the story arc around the Jupiter-Venus conjunction on May 23rd. So we're going to see the results of this clearing, of this clarification of our motivations quite soon. We just have to get through this period where it feels like, oh, we're in between. And people may freak out because they're like, oh, I used to have so much passion for this. What happened? I used to feel like I can just do this way. What happened? So use this proactively when you feel like there's something that's falling away from you, or your motivations are falling away and you don't understand why. Look to where, really analyze, review those motivations that you're feeling less passionate about, and see how does it resonate with who you really are and what you really want to do? How does it resonate with your dreams? And then readjust from there, or even release motivations. Be open to releasing the old motivations that are not working for you. And be happy that we get this opportunity to release. Who wants, old baggage tied to our feet and weighing down our journey? So here's a hypothetical example just to further clarify what this is all about. Let's say, let me take a sip. This is just good old jasmine tea today, since I feel like I need a little jasmine tea to really soothe my throat. Very nice. So here's a hypothetical example. Maybe you've been dreaming of a better world community, and so you've decided to run for mayor to make changes and reforms. And maybe you come from a political background and we're family. My point being that you don't have to come from a political background or family. It's just that somehow you have a knack and natural talent, maybe natural charisma, for being a public servant. You're good at it, so you're using it to your advantage. So being a political figure maybe comes natural to you, and that's great. And with this eclipse, it is possible that one, you lose motivation for certain platforms that you once stood for, and you hit existential crisis within yourself, of course, and for your campaign. And you have to rethink those campaign issues. And or number two, you lose endorsements and financial support from certain people or organizations, because remember, the eclipse is related to the first house of personal identity and second house of where your finances are coming from. So it's possible that with this eclipse, you lose endorsements and financial, or endorsements that have financial repercussions. And you have to rethink your position and regroup financially. Both are possible. So as you clear away old platforms, if you use it proactively, uses energy proactively, clear away old platforms that may contain misguided intentions or intentions that are no longer in alignment with your dream. You get clear about where you stand, and then maybe you reach a crescendo aha, have a big aha with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction on April 20th. And then you're ready and open to receive a new batch of endorsements and financial resources. And by May 23rd, when Jupiter-Venus conjuncts, which is very manifesting, Jupiter-Venus conjunctions are very manifesting and very down to earth. There's always something very materialistic. It's a very obvious. It's not like, oh, we're manifesting an emotion or we're manifesting a mental state. We could, if they conjunct in your 12th house, that could be also true, but most likely the Jupiter-Venus conjunction is very practical. You see it, you taste it, you touch it. That sort of manifestation, it's in your bank, that sort of manifestation. So it's possible that for this example, you start to see results in terms of generating support from your constituents. So you see sort of a results for clearing old motivations that don't serve you anymore, re-examining your motivations and restructuring. With Saturn, there's always this sense of restructuring. You have to restructure your motivations, get clear on what you stand for, and then move forward again with the clarified motivation. And that makes you a lot more efficient, right? You want to put your energy where it actually counts. You know, it's just like, I'll mention that down here. Actually, let me just go ahead. So all this to say, when you feel like you're hitting crisis point, early April, keep your eyes on the front windshields. It's just like driving a car forward on a journey. Keep your eyes on the front windshield, release the past, keep moving forward toward the new or the restructured new. Otherwise, if you keep your focus on the rearview mirror, as in holding on to what is no longer anyways, you will be manifesting the Mars and Saturn conjunction in terms of anxiety. Remember, we talked about just this buildup of anxiety of having lost motivations. And if you don't know to restructure proactively, you would just be sitting in that anxiety until it explodes or implodes. So you want to embrace it and use it to restructure your intentions and motivations for the better. In other words, the golden goose were what you saw as the golden goose is now the old baggage. And the old baggage that falls out of your car during this time is actually good for you to let go anyways. So, so bottom line is trust the process. And of course, with anything that we lose, like with any motivations that we had and we spent energy and time in, when we lose that, man, it's painful. It does get painful. We do get disappointed, and that's to be expected. So we really want to practice self-compassion and perhaps do some tapping, EFT, to bring awareness and kindness to the situation. And with tapping, we don't start by wanting to get rid of the negative emotions and experiences. We tap so that we're able to really allow ourselves to feel them first before releasing them. So tap if we're feeling really anxious, where extreme emotions come up, and we're going to see the light and the purpose behind this release soon enough, and we'll be able to get a view of the new vista, the new expansion that's coming on April 20th with the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction, which only happens once every 13 years. So it's actually very exciting. And of course, for those who don't know the silver lining and the story arc and fall into reactivity, we practice compassion and send them love. So as a lot of astrologers are projecting, this is, correctly predicting, this may be manifested in the world as people showing aggression because they're feeling anxious inside. Their old motivations that are falling off, and they don't know to use this time to really clear out, restructure our intentions. They stay in the fretting emotionality. And we just want to understand that. We see it, we give compassion to it. No judgment, please. No pushing them, willing them to be any different than they are. We all have our own divine timing, and we all go through what we all need to go through to arrive where we need to be. So we honor each other's processes and send loving kindness. And of course, for those who are astrologically inclined, maybe if the timing is there, the reciprocity, the rapport is there, then encourage them to see the clearing in these rejection-like events or circumstances, or encourage them to process their emotions and use this opportunity to restructure their intentions. Okay. So here's a map of an eclipse. And I just want to remind everybody here that we are experiencing partial solar eclipse, roughly 0.5, 50% eclipse in the Pacific West Coast. So you can see the 0.5 line going through, here's San Jose, Bay Area, right there. There's Los Angeles, and, Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, all, pretty manageable, and as we head into the south, going upwards towards the Mideast and also the eastern seaboard of the United States towards Maine, this is full eclipse. That's why a lot of astrologers are saying that this is a major one, really a major one for the US, right? Because I think Washington is somewhere there. almost, not quite almost, but you can really see the eclipse from Washington. So it is a major one for the United States, but I just want to stress, since I'm based out here in the West, near San Jose, I just want to make that distinction that for those of us in the Pacific West Coast, our experience is a partial solar eclipse. So that means if we use a mayoral race as an example, you would still likely run in November. But you just have to go through a restructuring of your campaign, and that potentially shifts your demographics, or shifts your campaign finances, whatever it is that you need to shift, because you've shifted motivations. But for those in the total solar eclipse zones, again, Texas down here, and then Arkansas, and going up to Ohio, arcing over to New York and Maine, and so on and so forth, they may be experiencing something more extreme. So maybe a deeper existential crisis for one's own beliefs or the campaign's positions. And maybe dropping out of the race could be on the table, or at least making more radical shifts in campaign platform finances, or financial alliances. So the shift is going to be more radical if you're within the total solar eclipse zone. So that's why I'm saying nationally, I don't rule out extremes for those in the total solar eclipse zone, and that's food for thought for the presidential election on November 5th, 2024. But for us, in the West Coast time zones, I would forecast more congruent shifts. So instead of a complete uprooting from our intentions, our motivations, it's adjustments. Fine, with partial eclipse, it could still be major adjustments, but I think the general direction is still going to be very similar for us in the partial eclipse zone. So whatever shifts we're making, it may seem destabilizing at first, but it's going to turn out to aid us positively on the long run. So hang in there. Okay, so another example to sort of parse out the difference between partial eclipse and total solar eclipse. So for those in the partial eclipse zone, in the West Coast, or, wherever that's above the 0.5 zone or near the half partial eclipse zone, it's like, my family wanted me to be a heart surgeon, but after the eclipse, I lose interest in the specialty and go into existential crisis. After clearing out the baggage of old intentions and motivations versus what are actually my own dreams, I restructure my intentions and decide to become a trauma ER surgeon or ER doctor. And you can see there is some shift in scope for my social and professional reputation, but it's not to the extreme. And if you're in the total eclipse zones, or for those who are in the total eclipse zones, it could be that, okay, my family wanted me to be a heart surgeon, but after the eclipse, I lose interest in becoming a doctor and go into existential crisis. After clearing out the baggage of old intentions and motivations versus what my actual dreams are or what they become, I develop new intentions for becoming a medical researcher. So now maybe not a doctor anymore. You want to, sure, you could stay in the medical field, but the leap is farther. So in this case, you want to become a medical researcher, and there is a more drastic shift in scope for my social and professional reputation in this case. It's how I want to remember it happens in the 10th house. It's how we want to be seen and how we want others to see us. And the gap is going to be, it's going to be big enough with the eclipse, right? There is some sort of a jump between a heart surgeon and a trauma ER doctor. There is some sort of a jump, but not as great as a jump for those in the eclipse zones, where the example is more of a from heart surgeon to a medical researcher, a bigger jump. From sort of being a practicing doctor to academics. That's a bigger shift. So just an example, so you know that there is a range of severity for eclipses. But because it doesn't matter, regardless of severity, they all look to Saturn and Mars conjunction. So either way, we're going to feel a little bit of that anxiety inside. Saturn just asking us to check our motivations. And, you know, Saturn is a strict teacher. Saturn can be very strict. So I would absolutely advise all of us to, you know, deign to Saturn this time, to really at least pay respects to Saturn. And even if we're feeling like, oh, this is, you know, I don't feel anything wrong with my motivations. I don't feel like this motivation is out of a reaction or defensive mechanism towards past wounding, trauma, hurts, whatever, bad experiences. I feel fine. I would still be like, take this opportunity to check in a little bit, just to pay respects to teacher Saturn, to Professor Saturn. So just putting it out there. All right, for the sign by sign forecast, please review the Venus and Saturn conjunction by sign in part 2 of the spring equinox forecast. So the spring equinox forecast that I did is applicable to the entire year because it is the astrological new year, but you can use that to do your own forecast for this eclipse. So wherever I said would be the arena where you need to concretize and refine your scope, it's where you're going to experience some anxiety due to the universe eclipsing out old motivations in the following house. I'll give you an example later. So that is in order to prep you for an expansion in the arena where I said there would be growth. And I personally read this period as supportive, just like spring cleaning. You know, there's going to be dust, we're going to be sneezing, it's going to be uncomfortable, and gagging reflexes to be expected. Just do some tapping, do whatever it takes to make sure that you're in a space of self-compassion and you want to put effort into self-care. So let me give you an example of how you can use the spring equinox forecast for the sign by sign. So I'm going to skip over to, so if you click on the spring equinox forecast, you're going to get to the forecast page. And this is what you're going to see. So this is what you're going to see, and then you're going to get to the start with a forecast for spring equinox. And the first part is the energies, and then you're going to click into the second part of the analysis, with all of the ascendant that are organized by ascendant sun moon signs. So you're going to click on that link or scroll down to part 2. And then you look to your ascendant sun or moon. So let's say, as an example, that you're Libra ascendant. So to apply the eclipse forecast to this, remember I said wherever I said that you need to refine the scope is where you're going to feel a little bit of anxiety. So you're going to feel a little bit of anxiety in your 6th house because of the Saturn-Mars conjunction, where you feel like your motivation is changing. So for Libras, your motivations, you feel a bit of a wobbliness in your motivations towards the work sector. And you're going to be feeling a little bit of anxiety towards it, or anxiety building up, because your motivations are being questioned, either questioned by outer source or internally questioning it. And that's because something is being eclipsed out in the following house. The following house is the 7th house. Something is being eclipsed out for your partnerships. Now, because this is a partial eclipse, I would say it's may not be, a person leaves you or you leave a partnership. No, it may just mean that your motivations within that partnership comes into question. Or it could also be that your routines, because it is 6th house routines, your routines with this person that you're in a partnership with is coming into question with the Saturn and Mars conjunction. And you need to readjust, you need to restructure the set of motivations and intentions in order to make the partnership better. And the results of you restructuring the motivations would be, wherever I say you're going to grow, you may grow in joint finances, investments, or spirituality, occult knowledge, or even gain further intimacy with your partner if we're talking about intimate partnerships. So you're gaining in the 8th house. So whatever motivations that you shift in terms of your 7th house is going to aid you in the 8th house. And chances are it involves your daily logistics, because the Saturn and Mars are sitting in the 6th house. I know for some of you, this is sort of harder to make that shift between what's already written here for the spring equinox versus, what is, how to turn this into the eclipse and the Saturn and Mars conjunction forecast. But just remember, overall, you're just becoming aware of the anxieties that could be simmering within you near the start of April, before mid-April. And you want to take that time to really examine where that's coming from. Because something already spelled out for you, something in this sector is where you may feel a little bit of anxiety. So even if you don't get to the content, just, for example, if you're a Leo ascendant, just know that you're going to feel anxieties around the 8th house. And you just want to examine the motivations of your 8th and 9th house, and then shift your motivations towards what you really resonate with, what your dreams really are. so that you could benefit in the 10th house. Because the growth for Leos, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction for Leos, would be in terms of social reputation, career advancement, purpose in society, so 10th house stuff. And then let's do one more example. Who to pick? Let's say Capricorn. So wherever I say that you need to refine your scope, and is where you're going to feel a little bit of anxiety, and that's going to be your third house. There may be sort of communication anxieties, even communication blocks that you're feeling, where you need to shift how you communicate or your motivations behind your communications. And chances are something is eclipsing out of your fourth house. Something is eclipsing either internally in terms of your internal landscape or in terms of your family life. And that causes stress and anxiety in terms of your communications. But the point being that you need to look at the motivations and your intentions for your fourth house sector. What are my intentions? I'm Capricorn, right? What are my intentions for family that are outdated, that are based on past wounds, past trauma? And I lashed on to that intention and motivation based on fear. I want to be aware of those misguided intentions at this time and let those go, so that when the time comes, I can actually gain the greatest benefit in a fifth house growth when the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction hits the fifth house on April 20th. And for those who are parents, that would be growth in your relationship with your kids. This is sort of the conscious parenting that we're talking about. You're able to expand towards perhaps conscious parenting more as you start to see, oh my God, I'm structuring my family this way because as a sort of a survival mechanism, as a reaction to childhood trauma. And I don't want to be doing that anymore, Professor Saturn is making me just slow down and really examine these motivations. And I'm seeing that, oh, I've latched on to some reactivity there. And that's not really how I want to carry that word. That's not what I want to carry into my new intentions, my new motivations toward conscious parenting. And so this is going to cause some stress in my third house of communications. Yeah. But I'm going to take the time to shift. It's okay to take time to shift. But it's all for the benefit of a better relationship with my kids. And it's basically for the benefit of my kids in the fifth house. And of course, there are other interpretations for fifth house, like being able to be more open towards your talents, being able to be more open towards your own creative talents, your creative expressions. That could also be the result of it. So I hope that makes it a little more clear in terms of how you can use the spring equinox forecast to to project into the eclipse. So again, remember, the involved houses start from whichever house that I put in the forecast, in the spring equinox forecast, and then the next one and the next one. So 3, 4, 5th house would be applicable to Capricorn, and 4th, 5th, 6th house will be applicable to Sagittarius. Okay, so let's get back. So, again, leave the past in the rearview mirror, tap on fear, anxiety, disappointments, and keep looking forward, even when you have to pause for a bit and vacuum before you move on. The advice here is to continue to be aware of what resonates with your dreams. That would pair very well with your natural talents. So with this eclipse, again, you won't be made to shift towards something that is completely foreign. The universe would just be clarifying your vibrations, your intentions, so you attract synchronicities better, more efficiently, basically. And before I close, of course, I'm going to include a couple of tapping videos by Brad Yates. And these videos are about letting go, releasing the old, which is what the eclipse is asking for us to do, again, in terms of our motivations. It may not be something actual. It may or may not be something actual. I'm going to say it's going to be half-half. We have to let go of both sort of our internal motivations towards something, and also because of it, we have to let go of something external, or that something external is going to be let go for us. That's likely what's going to happen with the eclipse. Okay, so tap these, whatever that I post on here, that means I've already tapped with the video, and I just think they're excellent. And if you do choose to tap along, remember to sub the scripts for your own circumstances. So if Brad is saying that, oh, we're tapping on, you know, even though I can't let go of this past, I love and honor myself. He's going to say something like that, and you can sub out, you know, the past for whatever circumstance you're in. Like, even though it's hard for me to let go of being a heart surgeon, with the example I just gave you, I completely love and honor myself. So, so sub out the scripts. And also, I want to say that failure would be absolutely imminent if life is about the destination. This is something that I also have to constantly remind myself, that if we make life all about the destination, then we're going to be experiencing failure constantly. And we'll probably see ourselves as failures, because everything that we manifest, everything that we gain, everything that comes to us, come to us and then fall away, because it's really about circulation. We don't get to keep anything. That's why in Buddhism, we always talk about impermanence. Nothing is permanent in this world. Change is the only constant. So we want to enjoy the journey. We want to enjoy these opportunities that these energies are giving us. And when I say opportunities, I don't just mean opportunities to manifest some things, but opportunities to manifest experiences. As in, now I get to have the experiences of readjusting my motivations, of working with Saturn, working with the professor of astrology, teacher Saturn, to clear out the unsupportive intentions. so that I could actually purify my motivations to be able to attract the synchronicities in a more purified form. And so that's the experience that we're actually wanting. It's the experience of going through this period of release to be able to welcome something new. It's not about, oh, it's all about the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction where we get to grow, we get to expand, we get to accumulate. Life is not only about that, because you know what? If it were about just those expansion times, those times of gains, we will experience failure over and over again, because what we gain are going to be transformed again. It is guaranteed. Whatever that we gain in the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is going to be transformed again. If not tomorrow, absolutely not. If not tomorrow, if not the next month, the next year. What about 13 years later when Jupiter-Uranus conjuncts again in a different house? And when, Saturn does something again where we have to restructure. So that's why astrology, sometimes when we get into it, it is tiring if we frame it as a tool to get something. Astrology is very tiring if it's structured that way, and we don't want to do that. We use astrology to be able to ride the waves, to have fun riding the waves. It's like we're studying the waves. We're studying the physics of the waves. We're studying how the human body works in terms of balance. Which muscles do I use? How do I utilize core strength to have that fun experience of riding the waves? That is the point. It is not so that, ooh, I get to ride from point A to point B. That's what is the fun of surfing? It's not so that I could surf from point A to point B. No, the fun of surfing is the surf itself. And we're gonna fall, we're gonna have sand in our mouth, and that's a part of it. Again, I just want to bring in sort of, for me, is a more effective way of using astrology, a more effective way of framing astrology, is that we are studying the waves, we're studying the weather, we're studying the winds. It's like, we're just testing out the winds. Where is the wind going, so that I can orient my board the right way and I can balance in the right way. How strong is the wind and where is the wind blowing from, so that I can surf and I can have the experience of surfing. Even though I'm structuring some of the reads as in we're building up to the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction. Actually, almost all of us astrologers are structuring it this way, at least for the first half of the year. But I just want to make sure that people understand where I'm coming from. The fundamentals of where I'm coming from is that we want to be enjoying all of these energies, either they're easy or hard. We don't want to treat these energies as just another hurdle to go through to be able to get to, the Jupiter blessings, and the Venus blessings, even though it is going to come, May, forgot. When is the Jupiter-Uranus? Yeah, Jupiter-Venus conjunct May 23rd. It's like, can we just get to the prize? I just want to ride the waves and win the trophy and win the prize. But all things fall. If we're not enjoying the journey, we're not going to enjoy the prize. Right? So that's why I'm doing these energy. That's why I love the energy reads. I mean, I love doing the sign by sign as well when I have time. And unfortunately, I just don't have the time to do it this time. But that's why I love the energy reads, because it really is the star forecast. That's why I name it. I even name it the star weather forecast. It really is the star weather, so that we can enjoy the waves and not feel like they are a deterrent. We don't want to read easy, hard, any sort of astrological events as deterrents to overcome, hurdles to overcome. So we get A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Verbally, we structure it that way because sometimes that's just the limitations of language. But in terms of intention, motivation, I really want to clarify that for everyone, where the intention and motivation for the star weather forecast, so that we could ride the waves and enjoy and use it. Use it. We want to use it and not just sit back and go, oh my God, we're going through turbulence. I'm just going to hold on to my to my um to my hand rests and just close my eyes and wish it away. Or that, oh my God, okay, I'm just going to go find a bar. I'm just going to drink myself into oblivion during this turbulent time. Or I'm just going to binge watch. I'm going to binge eat and I'm going to numb myself. No, right? This is why I do the star weather forecast, so that we learn how to ride these waves joyously and receive the journey itself as the gift, as the gift. We don't have to wait until we win some sort of prize. By that time, it's either too late, we're already so tired, so stressed out, and so angry and resentful already that we don't even feel anything when we win those prizes. Or that, we win the prize, we're happy for 1 second, and then another effing wave comes, right? And another effing thing, another effing event, another like difficult Saturn, whatever conjunction comes, like, not again. We've just navigated the Saturn and Mars conjunction that was difficult, that every astrologer says is going to be just crazy people out there reacting left and right. And now what? It's going to be, what other bad things can we expect? Bad things can we expect? Now we're going to be expecting some sort of, I don't know, let's say uh Uranus-Mars conjunctions, where Uranus-Mars square is going to come up. And that's going to be hell. We understand in terms of the external manifestations, they're with what I'm talking about here is Uranus-Mars will be square down the road when Mars gets to the first couple of degrees of Taurus. And that is going to be, we are going to sense a sort of friction inside and outside. And we are going to see manifestations outside. For those who don't know how to ride these waves, and for us who are practicing in astrology, who are resonating with astrology, who know how to use astrology, we're able to analyze this difficult wave and ride it in a way that helps us experience life in the most joyful way possible. If not joyful, at least peaceful, at least understanding, at least equanimous, if that's a word. At least compassionate, how about the most compassionate way possible? That's why we do astrology, to ride the waves in the most compassionate way possible towards ourselves, self-compassion, towards the world, compassion. Because again, I am going to end with this, as you know, your inner peace is my inner peace, is world peace. So we don't expect the world to be peaceful. It just starts with us, even with the difficult waves, the challenges that keep coming. It is going to keep coming. It's just how this world is set up. What we're doing is we're learning how to ride these challenges so that we feel satisfaction, so that we ride these waves with satisfaction, with love, sometimes with ease, with joy if possible, when the aspects are there, when the energies are there. And we learn how to have inner peace first. And when we're able to have inner peace, we're able to bless others with our own inner peace and affect others from that peace. And that is real peace. That is real peace. And we're not asking anybody to stop fighting. From the smallest scale of an intimate relationship to the grand scales of countries fighting each other. Again, in astrology, we do not make any moral judgments for or against anything. Nothing wrong with fights. You know, I did a book share on fighting right. There's nothing wrong with fighting to really get to know each other. Fighting is actually a bid for connection. When we start fighting each other, we're actually asking to connect. This works on a small scale and personal scale, also on a global scale. We're asking for some sort of connection. So there is no moral judgment in terms of astrology, peace or war. It's just your intention, what your intentions are. So in astrology, we don't say that war is bad. I know I'm going to be very controversial here. Nowhere in astrology does it say war is bad, peace is good. Nowhere in astrology does it say that fighting is bad and compromise is good. You know, it's all about intention and where you want to be and what you want to practice. Where do you want to plant your seed, plant your acorn and practice? Mine happens to be satisfaction towards life. Satisfaction. I orient my practice towards satisfaction. And in order for me personally to have satisfaction towards life, I learn to ride the challenges and waves in life by studying astrology, by studying the nature of these energies, so that I could experience satisfaction, no matter if it's a good energy we're experiencing or a bad energy we're experiencing. Doesn't mean I do not cry, doesn't mean that I do not have emotions. There are times when, you know, if you watch the videos, a couple of videos back, it's just, I was feeling wonky from experiencing the hammer of Thor. Like I just want to leave a trail of chaos and destruction behind me, even though my intention was really good. For that period, that's what I was feeling, and I recognize that, and there's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes we trailblaze in aggression, and sometimes we trailblaze in a spirit of compromise and peace. That's all a part of it. The main thing is satisfaction. What brings you satisfaction? And we orient towards that. At least I orient my astrology practice towards it. So anyway, huge digression. Sorry about that. I will step off of my soapbox now. All of this to say that please use this eclipse compassionately. Use this eclipse wisely. Check your motivations. When anxieties come up, know that it's only natural. Practice self-compassion. Give yourself, be mindful of where you are, and then connect to just the human condition where you know that I'm going through it. Everyone's going through it with you. And then bring a lot of kindness towards yourself and towards others. Helping others don't have to be literally, shoving astrology towards them, even when they don't want it. It's just giving them loving kindness as we see aggressions on the road, as we see aggressions in our work environments. We approach it in understanding and compassion. And with that, hopefully you experience inner peace. So I will go ahead and close right there. And with inner peace, I have to close with this. You matter so much, because your inner peace is my inner peace is world peace. So thank you so much, all of you, and I will see you in another video. And namaste.